My name is Marshall Rauch. I was born February 2nd, 1923 in New York City, and this is my story. As a youngster, I was always interested in sports. The earliest sports that I remember playing were kick the can in the streets of the city. Having been born in New York City, my family, my mother and father, moved with my sister to Long Island, and it was a real nice place to live. We were about 1 mile from the ocean, and there were schools all around, and I did like to play any kind of game that you could think of, and had a great time doing it. And my father just happened to put up a basket for me on the side of the house, and that's where I learned to play basketball. We lived there, oh gosh, well, I went to Duke and still lived there. I went in the Army and still lived there. So we had a neighborhood, very nice, and it was full of sports. I really did not pay a great deal of attention to scholastic situations. That was just the way I was. Oh, I didn't flunk anything. I didn't have any trouble in school, but it was sports that I enjoyed most. And with that basket at the side of our house, that became my favorite sport. In fact, we could play at night. I'll tell you how the lighting worked. We had 2 big garbage cans, and if we wanted to play at night, we'd put one garbage can on one side of the basket and the other on the other side of the basket, and fed it paper and twigs and played basketball at night. They didn't do that at Madison Square Garden. And when it came time to go to college, my father had been a professor, chemistry, at Columbia University. And he wanted me to go to school at Columbia. My mother also was graduated from college in New York at Hunter College. So there was no doubt that I was going to go to college, but where? I did not really like New York. I liked it out on the island. And as I grew up, fellows in our high school started going to college, and you would see them when they came back, and they did like it and they didn't like it. And some of my good friends did go to Duke. So that name, the name Duke University, was in my mind. And Dad was a little upset because I said, I don't want to go to Columbia. And I think my mother persuaded him to let me go to school where I wanted. Fortunately, I was accepted at Duke. I was a walk-on in basketball. It was really a great part of my life. I happened to be at Duke when they opened what was called the Duke Indoor Stadium. It was not called the Cameron Indoor Stadium. And I played on that floor the first year that the courts were open. And they still have complaints from visitors that the supporters of the Duke team get too close to the floor. They do. And there really weren't enough space for the visiting team to have a large crowd. That's true also, but that was just advantage of the home court. When I got to Duke, I didn't even know it, but you could not play varsity sports as a freshman in any sport. If you were a tennis player, a baseball player, a football player, you could not play until your sophomore year. However, they had good freshman teams. Duke at this time was in the Southern Conference. NC State was there and Wake Forest, but schools like Davidson and Furman were a part of the league that they played in. It was a lot of fun. We got into it for my freshman year, and I went out for the team. Somehow, I never thought about not making the team. I realize that now. I was not that great a ball player, but when I went out for the basketball team, there's no doubt in my mind that I was going to make the team, and I did. In fact, I would have to say that I proceeded up the ladder quickly on the freshman team. And then I got to play varsity basketball when I was a sophomore. I didn't start off with any big jump, but I made the team. I practiced every day, and we had games and a lot of fun. I fit in pretty well. I was the only guy from New York on that team, and I enjoyed it. And they gave me a nickname on that team. They nicknamed me Irish. And you'd have to be there and see all those blonde, freckle-faced basketball players and be the one guy from New York who didn't look like all the others, so they called me Irish for fun. It was good. My freshman year, I would say, was successful for me on the freshman basketball team. The second year, my sophomore year, Eddie Cameron was coach. He was a real gentleman. He was happy to have me there and told me so. And well, I think all the guys liked him. And that, of course, is the reason that the name of the gym was changed to Cameron Indoor Stadium because of the work he did. He was very attentive to all of us, even me. I think there were 2 walk-ons. I was one, and then there was another. And it didn't matter. I was just there, just like everybody else. And he was I don't want to say it was a pleasure to be coached by Cameron. It was an honor to be coached by Coach Cameron, but it wasn't a pleasure playing basketball when you were tired and wanted to quit, and he calls you out to run. In that year, the basketball was so different than now. We have three-point shots now. We didn't have three-point shots. We shot the basketball underhand for free throws, two-handed for set shots, and you could not palm the ball. I sort of made my way along, and I started to get a reputation. You know, they've got three-point shooters and the fast dribblers and the defense men and the back to the basket. Well, I was a closer. A lot of people don't know what a closer is, but here's my job on that basketball team. Cameron gave it to me, and I guess I should say I appreciate it. If Duke got 20 points ahead or 20 points behind, and there were 20 seconds left in the game, you could be assured that Cameron would call me, "Rauch, go in and close out the game." So that was my fame. Also, I remember the first time I made a basket in a varsity game. I had gone in almost like a closure. Maybe there were 4 minutes to go. But I was in the game. That was the first varsity game I played. And I remember they were in the zone defense, and I was out there. And the fellow supposed to be guarding me kept backing off. And people in the stand would say, "Shoot, shoot." Well, I was way back here. It would have been a three-point shot. First time I ever shot in a ball game, and I made it. That was wonderful. When I played at Duke, I liked all the games, but our biggest rival was Carolina at Chapel Hill. That's just the way it was, and that's the way it still is. And I was 17 when I was playing freshman basketball at Duke. And that was a little young, but that's the way it was. And at one of the early Duke games, I can't remember who we were playing, but it was a home game. I had just come in to sit on the bench after having played. And I remember a good friend of mine, Cedric Loftus, had come out with me, and we both had towels and were wiping our face and everything. And Cedric saw the other side of the court, and Cedric said, "Marshall, you see that girl over there?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "You ought to date her. She's a Jewish girl, and you're the only Jewish guy here. You ought to date her." Well, he was right, because I guess it was 8 years later, I married her.